Once upon a time in a bustling city there was a young man named Alex, who was 26 years old and worked in the finance department of a large corporation. Every morning Alex woke up at 6:30 to the same alarm sound, got ready in his tiny apartment, and took the crowded subway to his office building downtown. He spent his days staring at spreadsheets, answering endless emails, and sitting through meetings. At first Alex thought this was what success looked like, because he had a steady paycheck, health insurance, and a desk by the window. But after one whole year of the same routine day after day, he started to feel like he was living on autopilot. His coworkers talked about quarterly reports and weekend plans, but nobody seemed truly happy or alive. Alex would come home exhausted, make instant noodles for dinner, and fall asleep watching shows he barely remembered the next morning. One rainy Tuesday evening, Alex sat at his desk looking at the same financial report he had been working on all week, and something inside him snapped. He realized he could not spend another year or even another month living this way. That night he lay awake, thinking about all the things he had given up for this job. His hobbies, his friends, his sense of adventure, and most importantly, his happiness. The next morning, Alex walked into his manager's office and handed in his resignation letter, with shaking hands but a determined heart. His manager was shocked and tried to convince him to stay by offering a small raise, but Alex politely declined because he knew money could not fix what was broken inside him. His coworkers thought he was making a terrible mistake throwing away a stable career, but Alex felt lighter than he had in months. Alex spent the next 2 weeks wrapping up his work, clearing out his desk, and saying goodbye to the few people he would actually miss. He sold most of his furniture, saved up some money from his salary, and started researching places far away from the noise and chaos of the city. He found pictures online of a beautiful countryside town surrounded by rolling green hills, flower fields, and little cottages with wooden fences. It looked like something out of a storybook, and Alex decided right then and there that this was where he needed to go. On his last day at the office, Alex packed his belongings into a backpack, threw away his neckties and dress shoes, and left the building without looking back. The next morning, he boarded a train heading toward the countryside with nothing but his savings, a few clothes, and a heart full of hope for a new beginning. As the city skyline disappeared behind him and green fields started to appear outside his window, Alex smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. Now Alex was on his way to a completely new life, in a place where nobody knew him, and he could finally figure out who he really was and what truly made him happy. Once the train pulled into the small countryside station, Alex stepped onto the platform and took a deep breath of the freshest air he had ever smelled. The station was tiny, with only one platform, a wooden bench, and flowers growing along the fence. An elderly man with a warm smile noticed Alex looking around confused and asked if he needed directions. Alex shyly explained he was new in town and looking for a place to stay, so the man pointed him toward a cozy bed and breakfast run by a kind woman named Mrs. Maple. Alex thanked him quietly, grabbed his backpack, and walked down the cobblestone street lined with colorful shops and cheerful people waving hello to one another. Everything felt so different from the city, where strangers never made eye contact, and everyone was always in a hurry. Here people smiled at him, even though they did not know him, and it made Alex feel both welcomed and a little overwhelmed because he was not used to so much friendliness. Mrs. Maple greeted Alex at the bed and breakfast with homemade cookies and a room with a view of the meadows. She was a talkative woman who asked Alex lots of questions about where he came from and why he moved to the countryside. Being an introvert, Alex gave short, polite answers and excused himself to his room as soon as he could because socializing drained his energy. That evening, he sat by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange, and for the first time in a long time, he felt a tiny spark of peace. The next few days, Alex explored the town on his own, walking through the quiet streets, visiting the library, and sitting by the river with a book. He noticed a lovely bakery with a pink awning and the smell of fresh bread floating out the door, and right across from it was a charming flower shop with buckets of colorful blooms displayed outside. Alex wanted to go inside both places, but his introverted nature made him hesitate because he was nervous about talking to strangers. One morning, while Alex was sitting on a bench near the town square sketching the landscape in a notebook, he had bought a cheerful voice startled him. A young woman with bright eyes, a warm smile, and an apron covered in flour walked up to him holding a tray of pastries. She introduced herself as Lily and said she worked at the bakery across the street and noticed he was new in town. Lily was bubbly and talkative, asking Alex question after question about his life, his hobbies, and what brought him to the countryside. Alex felt a bit awkward at first, because Lily's extroverted energy was the complete opposite of his quiet personality. But there was something genuine and kind about her that made him feel safe. He told her a little about leaving his corporate job and wanting a change, and Lily's eyes lit up with excitement. She said the countryside was the perfect place to find yourself, and insisted Alex try one of her cinnamon rolls, which she promised were the best in town. As Lily chatted away about the town, the people, and all the little events that happened throughout the year, Alex found himself smiling and even laughing a little. When she finally had to return to the bakery, she told Alex he should stop by any time and that everyone in town would love to get to know him. Alex watched her skip back to the bakery and realized that maybe opening up to people here would not be so scary after all. Now, Alex had met his first friend in the countryside, and even though he still felt like an outsider, he started to believe that this place might help him become the person he always wanted to be.